Hi everyone, and welcome to our next episode as part of National Careers Week. Today we are focusing on law, so we're joined by Kaylee. I am just going to ask Kaylee first of all if you can introduce yourself. So obviously thank you so much for joining. If you're all right, just let us know kind of the role you're in at the moment, where you're working, just a little bit about yourself, please.
Great, yeah, thank you for having me. My name's Keely. I'm currently a solicitor at Ward Hadaway. I practice in the construction and engineering unit, so slightly different to what some people may have heard of. I am just over 2 years qualified as a solicitor, and prior to that I did my training, so still learning, but certainly getting there.
Brilliant. And so is it kind of, do you always know that you wanted to work in law, and especially in sort of that sort of engineering, construction side of things, or is it just sort of came about that way?
So I've known I wanted to do law for quite some time. I was part of debating groups at school, and that really kind of was where it stemmed from. I just enjoyed that, the research, the presenting, the debating a topic with another team. And so I started to look into law before my A-levels really, and throughout sixth form and my time at university I kind of built up my experience, and I studied law at Northumbria, and then I went straight into my training contract, which is a 2-year training after university, and then qualified. Construction and engineering certainly wasn't what I expected to be doing. To be honest, I knew I wanted to do commercial law, so not family or conveyancing or such. I knew I wanted to work with businesses. And to be honest, I thought I wanted to do intellectual property, so music and copyright and things like that. But I actually found my way into shipping and international trade first when I qualified. Did that for a couple of years, and then took some time off last year and came back into construction and engineering. And to be honest, I think the two were just what I enjoyed after I finished university and started actually working in a law firm. You come across a lot of additional areas that you perhaps hadn't thought about, and they were two of them, and just absolutely enjoyed kind of the technical elements of them. They're very technical areas of learning the client's trade and the business that they're working.
Oh, excellent. There's normally sort of all your experiences, isn't it, that kind of throughout that shape where you get at the end of it. It's always
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's always really interesting to hear kind of what people imagined they'd be working in, especially when you first started studying law, say, and then what you actually end up in is usually completely different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I know you touched on there that you studied at sixth form before sort of going to university. What A-levels did you study whilst you were there? Did you actually study law? Or?
So I didn't study law. That wasn't an option at my sixth form. So I'm from a little village in Cumbria. Unfortunately, there wasn't much choice in what we were able to do. So my A-levels were actually psychology, chemistry, history and drama. So nothing really that you would think of for law. They were just the things that I enjoyed. And to be honest, I think that's the best way to go forward, because then you know you'll do well at them if you enjoy them. And that was kind of the attitude that I took. Mm-hmm. So I did those for both years, and I got an A, 2 Bs and a C at sixth form as well. So not particularly, they were kind of an average good. Everyone seems achievable grade that people could get, and it was, something that I went on to study at Northumbria on the 4-year M-Law course, which was really great. And obviously, there's so many places you can choose from, but I knew I wanted to be in Newcastle, so.
Brilliant. Oh, that's really good. I think, like you say, it's quite difficult, isn't it, when you're thinking about your A-levels and do you go down sort of just the subjects that you enjoy. But that's generally a good route, isn't it, when you know you'll enjoy them, you'll focus on them, and as you say, it's kind of got you to where you wanted to be at the end of the day. Yeah. Are you all right just to tell us, so obviously you had 4 years at university doing M-Law, and then did you go straight on your training contract after that?
I did, yeah. So there's a bit of a background, and it is changing at the minute, actually. So I'm sure it'll be even different again once everybody gets there. But there's a bit of a background as to how it works. You study your law degree or non-law degree. If you study a law degree, If it's qualifying, you then go on to do an LPC or a bar course, depending on whether you want to be a solicitor or a barrister. And so the MLaw course I did included the LPC in that course. So I did my LLB law degree and the LPC that you do afterwards. I then went straight into my training contract, which is 2 years of training in a law firm. So I finished in the July and then started my training contract in the September, and did the same when I qualified as well, straight through.
Oh, brilliant. That's good. Then you could have just sort of kept rolling with it, because I know sometimes people have quite a big gap, don't they?
Yeah, and I think either way, it depends on what your preference is. I then, obviously, like I say, took some time off last year, sort of 6 months away from work, and I think some people do that between university, some people do it between their LPC, some people do it before the training contract, and I think it just depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. So thinking about sort of the role you're in now then, are you all right just to talk us through kind of a typical day?
Yeah, of course. I mean, any day can change. You can have a plan and you can guarantee that it will not go that way when you wake up.
I can imagine.
There will always be somebody who wants to put a meeting in, or someone who can't do a meeting at a certain time wants to push it on. But generally, the kind of tasks that I get involved in are research tasks to prepare either advice for a client or to support a court document, for example. So we do adjudication, which is a form of court procedure, but not quite as formal, but also high court proceedings, and I'll often draft documents for that. So witness statements, we'll do disclosure of documents, we'll do the submissions to the claim form or the defence. Obviously those things usually settle, unfortunately, before it gets to trial, so usually you do a lot of work and then don't get to see the end, but actually there's a few at the minute that are potentially going to trial, so there'll be preparation for that as well. I attempt and to assist to draft large documents as well, large contracts, and all the things that go with those. But generally, it's just a lot of communication with the client, keeping them updated of the progress, a lot of team calls with, your internal teams and also the client, and some extra stuff as well. So your business development, such as networking or doing things like this, speaking with students. That's also a big part of what we do every day.
Brilliant. I was actually going to say, is there anything that's kind of surprised you about the role you're in? Anything you didn't expect to be doing? Guess this might be one of them.
Yeah, you tend to find that as a junior, the firms like to get you involved in speaking with university students, speaking with students at sixth form age as well, and going to networking events to speak with other junior lawyers. So you're always getting involved in some kind of event or talk or presentation.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how do you find that then? I guess it's probably quite nice to speak about your journey and kind of inspire others as well.
I really enjoy it. It's something that I've always been quite heavily involved in, and I think particularly coming from somewhere where the majority of people didn't go to university, I was the only person who went on to study law. It's very difficult sometimes to get the support in areas like that where there are so few people and the outreach isn't as good, and so I wanted to make sure that everyone I could help had the available information to make a decision, because I think it's really important that you see what it's actually like before you get into it, and have a bit of an idea of what to expect.
Absolutely, yeah. I was actually going to say, is there anything when you were at school that sort of you wish you knew that would be useful that you didn't know then, that you kind of wish now you had known?
Yeah, just ask for experience, get as much experience as you can, because I think I was afraid to approach bigger firms, but actually they tend to be the places that have a lot of things in place and a lot of experience to give out. I was very scared to do so for the fear of being told no, but that is the worst that happens, is you do get told no. But the reality is that I came across a lot of people who had experience in sixth form with these big firms and ended up getting a training contract at the end of their university degree because they'd kept those contacts throughout. And so I think that's one thing again, just get as much experience as you can, whether that be legal or not legal. There's a big shift towards actually non-legal experience, in businesses and things like that, to gain a bit of what we call commercial awareness. You'll certainly hear it a lot if you do decide to do law. And jobs, a part-time job to do on the side on a weekend or an evening looks really, really good on your CV when you come to apply. So doing things like those are really, really useful, regardless of what you then decide to do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And what about, did you do like any part-time jobs or anything when you were studying, or?
Yeah, well, I've worked since I was about 13. So I started off on a paper round, and then helped out at the local shop and the local bakery. And as I got older, I went into some work experience at the local high street firm, and I just did a week with them over summer in my first summer of university. And they asked me to stay on and work for them. So then I would go back on summer, Christmas holidays, etc., and just help them out as and when I can. And I can't even describe how good that experience was when it came to applying. And it was something that a lot of people didn't have, that kind of extensive experience at that stage. So like I say, it's worth asking, because the worst that'll happen is no. And smaller firms tend to be looking for that additional help as well, from people who are studying or wanting to study, because it's beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's something that a lot of students at the moment are struggling with a little bit, obviously, with lockdown and lots of places being closed, kind of work experience being cancelled. So it's good to hear even just other suggestions, things that you might not have thought about, on where you get a part-time job.
Commercial awareness is the biggest thing that firms will ask you to discuss, and that simply means knowing how a business works and knowing the business needs. So if, for example, you wanted to do construction and engineering, any experience with a builder or something like that would be beneficial, because you'd understand what they do. And so anything that you can then transfer skills across from is beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really useful, because I think a lot of students maybe have thought about needing experience in the law side of things, but like you say, you need to know about that industry, don't you, to work in it. So that's really good advice. Is there any other top tips or anything that you'd like to add that don't have to be related to law, can just be studying as a student in general, or choosing your options?
Yeah. So if you can't get experience at the minute, do volunteering, because volunteering looks really, really good on a CV. It shows your initiative to go out and help. It shows a bit of passion. It shows your want to do something, and anything is certainly better than nothing. So don't worry about getting formal legal experience. Certainly get involved with everything you can if you do decide to go to university. Be yourself in the applications. I think there's this expectation that you have to be going to Oxbridge, or you have to be going to to every single law firm and getting experience. If you do, that's great, but if you don't, that's also great. And the important thing is that you fit into the firm, so they will want to know what type of person you are. Put your hobbies on your CV. They want to see that. Somebody I used to work with, who was a graduate partner, said the most interesting CV he'd ever seen was a guy who had a hobby collecting rare watches, and he used to travel to events and things, and he said it was the most memorable application I've had, because I'd never seen it before. So put your hobbies on there, and be yourself, and like I say, just get involved in everything you can at university, and enjoy it. Don't worry about the pressures of finding a training contract. It'll come eventually if you decide to do that. There's so many other routes now as well. Within a law firm, there are so many different teams, and a lot of people who now do training contracts in sort of the business side, so how to provide our work to the client in a more efficient way. So IT, technology, it's all changing, and it's just about kind of looking outside the box and broadening your searches.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, a lot that we've found, even just by doing these podcasts and things, that the roles that don't even exist yet, do they? It's kind of thinking about what'll be in the future. And you have your mindset on one area, but actually you might end up in something that literally doesn't exist yet, which is quite an exciting and interesting thought, I think, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's changing all the time, and firms are coming up with new ways to provide the work to clients, so they need people to lead on those projects.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all been really interesting. The last thing I just wanted to ask was, I know a few students who maybe are deciding at the minute, what A levels they want to study. Did you feel like you were at any sort of disadvantage that you didn't study law at A level, or were you quite happy just starting uni and you're fine sort of starting with everybody else?
Again, whichever you decide is absolutely fine. It's your preference. You will find that actually you get taught a lot of what you do at A level in your first year of university, anyways, because they like to teach you their way. And so, don't get me wrong, some of the people who'd studied law did have a little bit of an advantage in first year in that they knew some terms and they knew certain elements of law, but I then soon caught up because they were teaching at a university anyway. So I don't think it would put you at any particular disadvantage. And actually, firms generally hire, sort of 50-50 of studying law at university and not studying law. So those people are even later on in the process not studying law and still manage to end up in a career. So I don't think it's particularly, it's whatever you would prefer.
Yeah, that it's really interesting actually to think as well, isn't it, that even if, like you say, you're a bit further on and you maybe hadn't studied law at degree level, you might still end up working in a law firm as well. So it's, I guess, never too late, is it?
Absolutely not, no.
Brilliant. Oh, that's been really helpful, Keely. Thank you very much. It's always it's really interesting to hear everyone's kind of career journey, I think. So that's been brilliant. You've given some really good advice as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. And obviously, if anybody ever has any questions, then they're more than welcome to reach out on in whatever way they can.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We have got a workshop later this afternoon, and we'll have some posts out on social media as well. We're doing a bit of a jargon buster around all the different ways to get when you're applying for law courses or even applying for roles as well. So watch out for those on sort of Facebook and Instagram as well. But thank you very much, Keely, and thanks everyone for listening.